Hello guys, welcome to the 5th episode of Love Suk and Dukha. Hi Saniya.
Hi Aurick, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm also doing good.
लग तो नहीं रहा आवाज से.
लग रहा है हंस तो रही हूँ मैं इतना.
Okay, anyway. So आज हम किस बारे में बात कर रहे हैं?
आज हम बात करेंगे इमोशनल वर्सेस फिजिकल इंटीमेसी एंड व्हाट इट एक्चुअली मीन्स.
Interesting. अलग अलग पहलू के बारे में बात करेंगे ना?
Yes, obviously, as always.
जैसे उनकी इम्पोर्टेंस, कब चाहिए, क्यों चाहिए, कैसे होती है, क्यों नहीं होती है, and everything in between. थोड़ा हंसाएंगे, थोड़ा मे भी रुलाएंगे और थोड़ा क्रिंज कराएंगे.
अरे नहीं, इतना क्रिंज नहीं कराएंगे यार, हम बड़े अच्छे लोग हैं. Anyway, let's just start by defining what emotional and physical intimacy mean. So, what do they mean according to you? Like, what would you say?
See, for me, because I'm a little old school and I'm more of a 90s kid, so मेरे लिए पहले it's always going to be emotional intimacy because नजरों से प्यार होती है, दिमाग से प्यार होता है, दिल से प्यार होता है, और फिर क्या कहते हैं, नजाकत के बहुत बाद जाके टच होता है. and that is sometimes when you start with a simple handshake, right? या पहले जमाने में तो you used to never even touch the person before you क्या कहते हैं actually got into a full blown relationship, right? So for me, emotional and intellectual intimacy is happening right from the moment I'm looking into a person while I'm getting to know them. That could happen in the way that you interact with someone, your mannerisms around them. And then physical intimacy, obviously, as the stronger bond grows, you get attracted to another person, and it may come off on day 1, day 5, day 10, or sometimes after getting to know a person very very deeply, it might suddenly appear. So that is how I see.
Oh, suddenly appear is a very interesting thing. क्योंकि इसमें भी ना मतलब वो there is kind of like a conflicting वो which I also have an opinion. So मेरे लिए भी almost it's the same thing. Emotional intimacy is obviously far greater than physical intimacy because the emotional connect or the intellectual connect has to come first, and then only I'll be able to form like a physical bond or whatever. I'll be able to be physically intimate with them because I value emotional intimacy way more. So that being said, I think जो तूने अभी अभी बोला कि physical intimacy can be worked on. Do you think that it can be something worked on, or do you feel कि यार वो एक जो initial थोड़ा बहुत attraction तो होता है ना, उनका चेहरा पसंद आ जाता है या something about them that लोगों को एक तो हाइट का भी बहुत ऑब्सेशन है. बाय लोग आई मीन हाँ नहीं मतलब बनियों को
जैसे मेरे को स्ट्रेट हेयर का बड़ा ऑब्सेशन है.
हाँ, so मतलब राइट, एवरीबॉडी हैज देयर टाइप और देयर थिंग. सो डू यू फील कि दैट मतलब वो दैट कैन बी वर्कड ऑन? हाउ कैन दैट बी वर्कड ऑन? राइट,
ओके, सो I'll give you a different perspective on the same thing. It's the other side of the coin. Imagine you're in a very very क्या कहते हैं long relationship, right? And क्या होता है उसमें आपके उतार चढ़ाव है, and then you've had a lot of fights and a lot of issues in those relationships. आपका पार्टनर बहुत सुंदर, इनफैक्ट इट्स हैपेंड विद मी आल्सो. माय पार्टनर वाज वे क्या कहते हैं आउट ऑफ माय लीग आल्सो, एंड आई वाज इन अ वेरी हैप्पी कम क्या कहते हैं सैड एंड डिफिकल्ट रिलेशनशिप आल्सो. बट उसमें क्या हुआ कि द नाइस मोमेंट्स तो हमेशा नाइस होते हैं रिगार्डलेस, बिकॉज वो उसमें आपके एक्चुअल इमोशंस मिक्स होते हैं, राइट? एंड देन जब आप हैप्पी होते हैं तो आप उनके शॉर्टकमिंग्स को जाने देते हो. यू आर मोर फोकस्ड ऑन द लुक्स एंड द अपीयरेंस ऑफ दैट पर्सन इन दैट मोमेंट. बट जब आप क्या कहते हैं जब गुस्सा होते हो, जब आप इरिटेटेड होते हो, जब आप बहुत ही ज्यादा अनॉयड या डिप्रेस्ड होते हो, तब आपको उस इंसान का चेहरा भी नहीं क्या कहते हैं देखना होता है. इनफैक्ट समटाइम्स मोस्ट पीपल नहीं होता वो टीवी में दिखाते कि भाई तुम आज बाहर से हो गए, राइट? दैट इज एक्चुअली अ रियल थिंग, राइट? अगर आपकी इमोशनल इंटीमेसी या आप क्या कहते हैं इमोशनल स्पेस में अगर आप किसी को नहीं अलाउ करना चाहते, फिजिकल इंटीमेसी तो हो ही नहीं सकती. सो व्हेन दैट हैपेंस, लेट्स से इन अ रिलेशनशिप, see, love at first sight is actually a thing because humans are designed to क्या कहते हैं look at good faces, good physique, good body language and all of that, because ये एक evolutionary trait था कि यार हमारे offspring बड़े क्या कहते हैं healthy और वो होने चाहिए, right? So from that standpoint, obviously everybody is attracted to beauty or good looks. But what also happens is that after a while, once it's like an onion, right? After you keep peeling the layers, you realize कि यार इसमें ये जो चीजें हैं, इसकी जो हरकतें हैं, इनकी जो बातें हैं, वो हमें पसंद नहीं आ रही. That's why we find a lot of people unattractive even when they are very very pretty.
I 100% agree, because someone can look exceptional on the outside, but if they have like a very shitty mindset, then none of that will matter, at least to me, because I'll be like, I don't care about your looks, right? At the end of the day, looks are going to go away. What is not going to go away is your mindset, your value system, how you are treating me. All of those things are things which actually really matter and will matter in the long run, right? Also, there is another point to it. I feel अगर तुम किसी से सिर्फ उनके physical aspects के लिए interested हो या relationship में जा रहे हो, तो both of you will get bored of it at some point, because there was no solid base, right? Physical attraction is not like a solid base. It can be like a initial thing to start it off, बट रहना तो तुम्हें इंसान के साथ है. दैट पर्सन इज नॉट मेकिंग यू फीलिंग गुड एंड you guys are not feeling good together, then there is no point anyway.
I might add a very controversial yet true क्या कहते हैं statement here कि क्या होता है ना, जैसे इट्स विद मनी ऑल्सो बट इट्स ऑल्सो टू डू विद गुड लुक्स, जहाँ पे एक डिसबैलेंस है, somebody is greater looking और both of you are good looking, अब तुम दोनों एक दूसरे से परेशान हो गए हो ना, because everybody else is attracted to you, you will be very easily क्या कहते हैं able to walk out of that relationship and find somebody else. So the it's a double edged sword, right? अगर तुम बहुत ही सुंदर हो और तुम्हारी वैल्यू उसी से आ रही है, तो वो वैल्यू तो हर कोई सीख कर रहा है, और जहां पे तुम्हारे को वो अटेंशन मिल गया, फिर यू विल वॉक अवे, इट्स मच इजियर. वेयर एल्स क्या कहते हैं, जहां पे अगर तुम्हारे पास इमोशनल इंटीमेसी है एंड यू आर वेरी वेरी स्ट्रांग बॉन्डेड, राइट, दुनिया भर का क्या कहते हैं कोई भी पावर तुम्हें अलग नहीं कर सकती, बिकॉज यू बोथ आर कनेक्टेड इन अ लेवल व्हिच इज
100%
बियॉन्ड क्या कहते हैं दिस यूनिवर्स, राइट.
आई थिंक जो सेलिब्रिटी वाली जो भी work करते हैं relationships, like all of them, their entire industry is so good looking, right?
Yep.
So they have a lot of options also, they work with a lot of actors and all of that.
Yep.
But जो भी रिश्ते बहुत अच्छे अच्छे चलते हैं and बहुत लंबे चलते हैं, I think that is what binds them together, right? That is what is like binding them कि यार मैं इसके साथ नहीं, मतलब because there is always like a younger person and a better, more attractive person or whatever, but they are not getting pulled to them because that emotional connect they know कि यार ये शायद मुझे ना ही provide कर पाए, और मैं क्यों ही seek out करने जाऊँ when I am absolutely happy emotionally in my current relationship.
Exactly,
right?
and I want to do a little bit of shout out to Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively.
मैं उन्हीं के बारे में सोच रही थी. They are my favorite like couple, Hollywood, Bollywood, whatever, especially Hollywood, like
favorite human couple.
हाँ, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are goals. Literally, I would die, literally freaking die to have that kind of a relationship. The fun, the playful relationship, and you know, पता है और भी कैसे पता चलता है कि रिलेशनशिप सही में, पता नहीं, मतलब अब you can say कि यार ऐसे तो कोई झूठ भी बोल सकता है whatever, but इतने साल तक नहीं बोल सकता है. And the way they speak about each other in interviews, right?
Yeah.
So that also shows कि which is like कई लोग ऐसा लगता है they are like very humorous and sarcastic, yeah. So they keep pulling each other's legs on like social media and all of that, but that is like their form of romance or whatever. So they both of them like it, right? So कई लोगों को लगता है कि यार बट इसका मतलब तो शायद ये हमेशा एक दूसरे से लेते रहते हैं, शायद they don't respect each other, but when asked about their partner in like a serious या in a formal wo, they will speak so highly of their partners and you will know कि okay, this is, मतलब you will see the depth of the relationship. Exactly. It is like a very loving relationship.
So in fact both of them had different partners before क्या कहते हैं finding each other, and this is the whole point, right? Most celebrity couples also, see we are talking about celebrity couples because they're in the public eye, it's easier to identify, और सबके लिए एक reference मिल जाता है कि most लोगों को पता होता है हम किसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, right? नहीं भी पता है तो YouTube कर लो यार, but anyways
you are living under a rock अगर इनके बारे में नहीं पता.
And it's all right, even up until a few years back even I didn't know about them, but anyway, so the point is that see, that banter, that humor, that love, that connection, that playfulness comes from emotional intimacy, right? That is not physical at all. They are giving interviews worlds apart and they're still talking shit about each other, and while in that thing also it shows how much they love each other, right? Physical intimacy is always going to be enhanced by your emotional intimacy.
100%.
Your emotional intimacy will also get enhanced by physical intimacy, but the proportion is totally different, right? Sex can't be the savior of your relationship, whereas your emotional intimacy will be.
Yeah, 100% true. That is the truth.
All right, काफी मजेदार. So having talked about what emotional and physical intimacy is and what is the importance and how it makes a relationship nicer, let me ask you कि एक physical intimacy का, सिर्फ physical intimacy का role क्या होता है? What is the significance of physical intimacy in a relationship?
हाँ, see, जितना भी आप बोल लो कि like we also said right कि emotional intimacy बहुत important है, वो तो है, लेकिन मतलब it cannot be like a relationship without any physical intimacy also, because also I think we need to understand कि what physical intimacy means. Many a times people think physical intimacy मतलब sex, but वैसा नहीं है. Physical intimacy is a lot of things. It can be holding hands, hugging your partner, cuddling, and PDA also I think is like you obviously have to talk to your partner what are your comfort levels, but then I have seen people who are like, one person for example is not comfortable with it at all and will not even hold your hands in
Yep.
public, and then that is a huge turn off for the other person, because
Yep.
they are like, yeah, okay, then you don't want to publicly be seen with me, like although you're walking next to me, but you don't want to be associated with me. So that becomes a thing, right? So physical intimacy is extremely important in any relationship. And I feel sometimes, and I think I've tweeted about this also a lot, is sometimes like a long hug from your favorite person can fix so many things which like words also cannot, right? So physical intimacy, I think, is very, very important as a whole.
Yeah, well, physical intimacy, like my favorite part of physical intimacy is cuddling and giving forehead kisses. I am a sucker for those things. But having said that, I think, physical intimacy क्या करता है ना, आपको क्या कहते हैं, it takes you to a different zone altogether where words are not needed, right? When you have spoken all the words and when you've done all the actions, I think physical intimacy actually, communicates a lot, right? There are verbal communications and non-verbal. I think physical intimacy builds a lot of your non-verbal aspects of your relationship, and I think that is also very, very important, right? Like, so okay, physical intimacy also. So generally we are talking about a couple in isolation, but let's also talk about couple in a social setting, right? Sometimes to bolster how strong you are and who you are as people, you also have to, show that maybe you're holding hands, you're comfortable kissing people in public, maybe kya kehte, that just shows how much deeply you are in that relationship and you don't care about the world and what the world thinks of you. So that's a demonstrative thing also. That
इसका opposite भी होता है, पता है? I've heard many people say कि अच्छा, if they are showing so much in public, probably घर पे कुछ नहीं चल रहा है इनका, because that is their way of covering their insecurities, that sometimes people want to show a lot in front of the public to form that perception because they are insecure about something. But I think then you need to find a balance, right? You don't, that is like my personal opinion, please don't start like full on making out or whatever, पूरे session ही start हो जाता है लोगों का, कई लोगों का, तो that is too much for me. But at least hold hands, give like a little kiss on the cheek or forehead or whatever. Those I think are, you can hug the person, whatever. So I feel like छोटी छोटी चीजें तो तुम publicly कर ही सकते हो, and those are extremely important, because even for me I feel कि that is like kind of a sign of you showing the world, that this is my person, right? And that is very, very sweet.
Okay, I'm going to say again a very controversial thing. You can go YouTube it, Google it, or whatever, see research papers on it. A lot of क्या कहते हैं, couples after marriage, after a while, a significant while in their marriages, anyways क्या कहते हैं, stop having sex, right? So at least अगर publicly आप में क्या कहते हैं थोड़ी intimacy हो भी रही है just to दिखाने के लिए, right? Sometimes people say that that is the ounce of love that I see from my partner ever. That is at least better than never. Right?
No, I would not agree with that. I'm like, यार तुम अगर दिखाने के लिए कर रहे हो तो मत ही करो. घर पे अगर तुम्हारा मतलब कुछ भी नहीं और तुम you're facing on the opposite sides of each other and sleeping, and then what is the point, right? Then दिखा के क्या कर लोगे? हाँ, अब अगर ऐसा naturally तुम्हें आ रहा है कि जब तुम बाहर जा रहे हो, and seriously, I don't know if you have seen those reels or not, and ठीक है, content is content, but literally there are reels where people are like, my boyfriend is so sweet, and why? उसमें ये होता है कि wherever he goes, he is literally always look for her hand and hold her hands. That is all they do, and that is such a freaking sweet gesture कि वही होता है ना जो तूने बोला कि शायद जो चीज वो 1000 वर्ड बोल के नहीं बोल पाता, वो एक जेस्चर से वो इंसान वो कर ले रहा है तुम्हारे लिए. So those matter a lot.
Interesting. Yeah, लेकिन so इसमें okay, let's also talk about the dark side of physical intimacy, which is maybe not having physical intimacy. आप same bed में same घर में रह रहे हो, but आपके बीच में कोई attraction नहीं है, right? You are just doing your mundane task because society told you and put you in a box कि भाई तुम्हें ये roles निभाने हैं, right? So in that situation, physical intimacy can be really hard, and it is very difficult for people to understand that. But I think that is where emotional intimacy comes into play, and it can actually help you क्या कहते हैं come closer physically also, right? कि पहले बात करोगे, हंसोगे, energy change करोगे, and then maybe physical can also come back.
Yeah.
Or sometimes happens, I don't know if it ever happened with you, but happened with me quite a few times. Sometimes when I'm mad with my partner, right, मेरे को बहुत मन करता है just kiss them कि भाई to make them like stop the fight. I'll just
होती है क्या? सब मुझे जानना है, मैंने मेरे साथ नहीं
बिल्कुल
हुआ है कभी. मतलब I have never tried this.
So again depends, right? Like depends on the
situation, how
magnitude
serious?
of what the topic is all about. But then generally क्या कहते हैं, वही तो जब सीरियस वाले डिस्कशंस होते हैं तब तो आपको वैसे भी यार किसी का बात सुनने का मन नहीं करता है. बट समटाइम्स व्हेन यू आर हैविंग दीस स्मॉल फाइट्स और मीडियम लेवल फाइट्स, तब आप क्या कहते हो कि यार लेट्स जस्ट रिजॉल्व इट.
I agree, वो तो होगा. मैं तो कई बार लोगों को बोलती भी हूँ, एंड आपने मतलब if you guys have not listened to the previous episode, please listen to it and listen to us talk about long distance relationships. So if you guys have listened to it, you would know that like a couple of my relationships were long distance relationships. So this is like one of the things which you can't do in a long distance relationship, right? अगर लड़ाई हो रही है, मैं कई बार ये बोलती भी थी कि I wish like we were in front of each other. मुझे ऐसा लगता है ये लड़ाई हो ही नहीं रही होती, because sometimes it is not even like शायद the other person does not even really have to touch me. Physical intimacy can also be like the other person literally looking at me and smiling at me, and I'll be like मैं ऐसे ही पिघल जाऊंगा. मैंने कहा यार ठीक है, मुझे नहीं लड़ना तुमसे, you know. तो होती है कई बार वो चीजें, तो छोटी लड़ाइयां तो वैसे ही खत्म हो जाती है उसमें. So हाँ.
Interesting.
So how do you think you can balance both types of intimacies? Like, what is the right amount of physical intimacy and emotional intimacy? We have obviously spoken about both and why both are important, right? At this point. So, but what do you think? How can you create the perfect balance?
So I think there is no perfect balance, and there can't be an equal 50-50 equation in any relationship aspect. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But in today's day and age, when two partners are getting increasingly busier, their lives are more hectic, and you are more dependent on digital technologies to assist you with your relationships, like we spoke about in our last episode of long distance relationships. It's the same way, right? If I'm going to spend, let's say, 8, 9, 10 hours, 12 hours in the workspace and commuting, I think in those moments, that emotional intimacy is very important. Sending them a very nice affirmative, I love you text, or, sending them something nice, being attentive to what they're saying. कि भाई ये नहीं कि तुम सारा दिन गायब हो, and then, they're saying something important happened to them. You're like, घर आके बात करेंगे, right? Because see, अगर आपके बीच में, अगर वो पूरे दिन में जब आप गायब हो, physical intimacy नहीं हो पा रही है, right? तब आप क्या कहते हैं, emotional intimacy के सहारे नहीं रहोगे, तो धीरे धीरे physical intimacy दूर हो जाएगी, right? So what happens is that you have to also balance it. Sometimes अगर मान लो दिन में क्या कहते हैं, you were not able to text at all, हो सकता है क्या कहते हैं, you were super busy, या तुम्हारा बॉस तुम्हें भारी ले गया कुछ पिटाई करने तुम्हारी. So in that case, right, you come back home and you apologize and do very nice things, right? You bring a flower, you maybe give them nice gifts, and then do very nice acts of love.
Acts of love.
Which is
that
not
what
sex.
they are calling?
This is not sex. No. This is what I want to tell the people. तुम सब गंदा सोचते हो. All our listeners are thinking sex की बात कर रहा होगा. नहीं.
मैंने acts भी सोच लिया, मेरे पास है.
Exactly my point. Most people think of only that. Right? So many cute things you could do for your partner.
100%. Yeah. Also, फिर वही है ना, वो भी मतलब is like an extended part of, I think, both physical and emotional intimacy, where if you know what their favorite dessert is, you know what their favorite flower is, maybe if you know they are having like a bad day and you are not able to be present for them, like when you're coming back, at least like bring along their favorite flowers, या ऐसा कुछ जो तुम्हें पता है कि the moment they look at this, they'll anyway, it will uplift their mood, right? So that is also like, those small acts also matter a lot. So
interesting. Yeah. Okay, now let's talk about something, because I've lived almost in every part of the country except for east of India, where I probably should have been, but
You are from there, by the way.
My heritage is from there,
right.
But I was born in the west of India, which is in Gujarat. I lived my considerable life in south of India, and then I'm here in North India. I think there are very different levels of comfort when it comes to both physical and emotional intimacy, and how it is represented and given out to your partner in terms of where you're born, right, culturally. So, for example, physical intimacy comes very naturally to the West, right? Like Western countries are very into the whole PDA stuff and all of that, right. Whereas India is generally not into PDA. So, culturally, I would tell you that, people are very, very different in terms of, I think,
how they express love.
Yeah, I think North India mein, if you're a very brashy, very braggy person, then you're doing PDA.
Creta mein Punjabi gaane chalate hue aa rahe ho.
Very South Delhi, South Mumbai thingy again.
That is the West Delhi thing, yaar. South Delhi wale kab se Creta chalane lag gaye, yaar. सुन के क्या वो पता नहीं सुन नहीं रहे होंगे, but
please don't bash on Creta people. Your next date could come in a Creta.
नहीं, by the way, यार Creta is kind of like one of my favorite cars, but यहाँ दिल्ली में पता नहीं वो culture सा नहीं हो गया है कि that black Creta and Punjabi music like blasting out of it, and I don't know.
I think that's also part of emotional intimacy for a lot of North Indians. गेड़ी मारेंगे
यार, बाय द
बढ़िया बढ़िया गल्ला करेंगे.
मैं तो क्या बोल रही हूँ, मैं तो खुद पंजाबी, और यहाँ दिल्ली में आके ना आई एक्चुअली लाइक दिस होल गेड़िया मारने वाला कॉन्सेप्ट. एक्चुअली यार गेड़िया मारना इज ऑल्सो फॉर्म ऑफ इंटिमेसी. से क्यों हम काउंट आउट करें यार.
फॉर दोज पीपल हु डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दिस वर्ड, गेड़िया मारना इज लोफरों की तरह घूमना रास्तों पे.
लोफर बना दिया यार तूने उसे. अच्छा, I'll tell them in a good way, ठीक है. So it's like you are hanging out with each other, okay, and then you're basically chilling and having the best time, driving
just
around.
Just a relaxed long drive.
That is गेड़िया मारना.
Sometimes purposeful, sometimes totally stupid.
हाँ, मतलब it does not, you do not even need to have like a final destination mind कि हम यहाँ जा रहे हैं. It's just like a chill long drive, blasting music, listening to your favorite songs, yeah, talking to each other, sort of. That is also like, by the way, a form of bonding. I to feel drives पे maximum amount of bonding. गेड़िया मार के.
And I think, okay, so I'll bring something from one of my past relationships here, is that it is very important, right? Like, there was an instant in my life, I will not say when and where and with who, but you know, there was a point in the time where we were doing a lot of activities, right? My partner used to love exploring new cafes and going to new places and all of those things, right? We were doing that. But while we were going to those places, the environment in the car used to be very, very tense, right? And there was a point where one of us said that, you know, every time we sit into a car and we are always irritated and fighting with each other.
That is bad. And तुझे पता है क्या? This is, मैं तो ये भी बोलती हूँ. If you are living like in a metro tier 1 city, basically, you should also test this drive wala whole thing, right? I think we were having this discussion recently only. कि you should also test how you guys are like around each other. जैसे हम, I think we talked about this, that you spend around 32,000 hours of your life eating and drinking. That is going to be like an important aspect in your dating and in your married life, whatever. Similarly, like driving with each other and in the same
or traveling,
car,
let's say in the plane, cruises.
नहीं, वो तो travel हो गया. That is a separate thing. This is literally day-to-day life में आता है ना. You are going to go to work, you are going to go out to places. So you are going to be in the same car. If that vibe is not like a very fun, happy vibe, then like half of your life is fucked, because यहाँ तो ऐसे भी इतनी ज़्यादा like traffic होता है, right? So if you are stuck in a traffic, for example, and both of you are like agitated as hell, how are you going to? You'll always be on each other's nerves, right? Then that is also like it will be.
So that's what I'm saying, right? So
in the future.
So that is the reason why, right? Physical compatibility and emotional compatibility has to show everywhere. It is not very. So yes, obviously you can't be publicly profane and do, you know, super PDA outside. But I think in your vicinity you should be comfortable with your partner both emotionally and physically. Sometimes people are hell scared of being around that person because उन्हें लगता है कि my partner could physically hurt me as well, right?
So that is a huge thing ना. In fact, physically hurt वो तो अलग ही हो गया ना. मतलब then you are not even feeling emotionally safe with that person in the first place. If you're like literally spidey senses on कि नहीं, this person can harm me or whatever, and you don't feel physically safe around them, वो भी वही है. You will. Those are very intricately connected. Like if you feel emotionally safe with the person, you are also going to feel physically safe. या फिर कई बार होता है कि physically in their vicinity, if you feel safe enough, then emotional अपने आप you feel safe. ऐसा भी एक कई बार होता है. So like that, it leads to that open, like they start opening up to you basically.
Okay. So I want to now ask you कि यार इबा बता कि how do you sustain or how do you build either of these things, emotional intimacy and physical intimacy? Let's start with emotional. How can you build between two people? And I say this, right? And it's a very profound thing that I think कि at some point in time, all of us in the deepest of relationships were strangers to each other. And in most sad cases, you again end up being strangers.
That is one of my favorite quotes. Like you go from being strangers to friends to lovers to strangers again. And then people are like, but in the end, you're not just strangers, right? You're like strangers with memories. Which is
exactly.
Like,
hence, I say you can be friends with some of your exes.
Shut the hell up.
But anyway, so tell me, how do you think people can build emotional intimacy? क्या कर सकते हैं?
See, that is where, which is why I am big on communication, right? It's like communication.
Mm-hmm.
So communicate. If you're not feeling good, तुम्हें कोई चीज अच्छी, and not just good, पता है कई लोग क्या करते हैं, मुझे तेरी ये चीज अच्छी नहीं लगी. When तुम्हें कोई चीज अच्छी लग रही है ना, तब भी बताओ. Like compliment each other, like not in like a way कि अच्छा अब ये तो रेडी हो के आई है, मुझे तो बोलना ही है कि अच्छी दिख रही है, ठीक है, do that also. Like hype each other up. I'm not talking about that, but have the real tough conversations also, and have like the good conversations also. Yep. If your partner has done something good for you, always like appreciate, always be appreciative, and then if there is something off जो तुम्हें नहीं पसंद है, then also voice your opinions out. That is having the hard conversations is what strengthens the relationship. What people don't realize and understand is कि उनको लगता है यार अभी ये वाली hard conversation कर लें, क्या पता मेरा रिश्ता टूट जाए. But if that thing piles up तो definitely टूट जाएगा. तो ये सारी चीजें करके तुम you are like boosting your emotional intimacy, which will lead to your relationship being more happier and long term.
Yeah, and I think emotional intimacy का ये भी पार्ट है कि both of you have to be on the same wavelength, right? Like
Definitely.
both of you have to be happy, both of you have to enjoy certain kind of things that both of you enjoy collectively as well, right? So that's the reason why sometimes, people who are anime lovers or have sports fans, gel really well together, because they're
Yeah.
like, badi maza aa raha hai. Or sometimes, you bring your other partner into the same fold, right? By having them involved in your activities, you build that emotional connection as well.
Yeah,
Now you
yeah.
both get excited for Game of Thrones, yaar, ki, oh shit, Jon Snow
Yeah, you
is
both
so
get
awesome.
like very excited for anime and all of that. Huh? That actually matters, and that is what shared experiences are about, right? Shared experiences help you build that emotional connection.
So that is why I'm bringing this up. Ki for emotional intimacy, do consume a lot of shared content, introduce them to new ideas,
अच्छा,
talk
मुझे
about
एक्शन
new
मूवीज
things.
पसंद है, उसको रोमांटिक मूवीज पसंद, तो क्या करेंगे?
तो एक्शन रोमांटिक कॉमेडीज भी तो आती हैं आजकल यार, वो देख लो. बट दैट्स नॉट द पॉइंट, राइट? यू हैव टू बी वेरी, क्या कहते हैं, एक्सेप्टिंग ऑफ हु द अदर पर्सन इज. एंड आई थिंक दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. आई वांट टू डिस्कस दिस एट लार्ज बिकॉज आई हैव बीन अ रिसीवर ऑफ बैड, क्या कहते हैं, फेथ फ्रॉम द पार्टनर, बिकॉज दे वर लाइक, यार हम नया चीज तो कुछ करते नहीं है, एंड नथिंग एक्साइटिंग इज हैपनिंग. लाइक आई से दैट इमोशनल इंटिमेसी बिल्ड होती है, क्या कहते हैं, आपके शेयर्ड कंटेंट एंड शेयर्ड, क्या कहते हैं, कंज्यूमेबल्स के साथ. So आप बात करके build कर सकते हो. And on the physical side of things, activities are very, very important, right? It tells you how a person reacts to a certain situation, what you do together, go out. So वो physical intimacy का part होता है. But everything else that you consume and share on an emotional basis, चाहे आप क्या कहते हैं कि emotional response क्यों ना है मूवी का. So you asked me कि अगर उसे ये genre नहीं पसंद है, मेरे को ये पसंद है, तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं? Just be very nice and be accepting of कि यार ठीक है, just be open to the new experience. अगर करने के बाद नहीं पसंद आ रहा है, तो फिर there is no problem. Tell them ठीक है, तू मत देख भाई, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. But it happened with me where this partner was like, यार मेरे को तो कुछ करना ही नहीं है because I'm set in my ways. I think that is also a very big red flag.
हाँ, right. See, मैं ये बोलती हूँ कि इन अ रिलेशनशिप दोनों ही चीजें खराब है. डोंट लाइक लूज योर आइडेंटिटी ऑल्सो. हैव योर पर्सनल आइडेंटिटी, but be open to a little bit of change probably, right? If it is not harmful in any ways. For example, अब मुझे एक्शन मूवीज अच्छी लगती है, अगर मेरा पार्टनर बोलता है नहीं यार मुझे तो बहुत ही अच्छी लगती है, बिल्कुल रोम कॉम, सो आई एक्चुअली सिट एंड ट्राई टू एक्सपीरियंस दैट एटलीस्ट, राइट? कि अच्छा होता क्या, चल देखते हैं साथ में. एंड कई बार these are like kind of small acts of love also, right? कि you watch their favorite genre once and कभी कभी वो तुम्हारा देख लेंगे, and then that is how relationships kind of survive, right?
So it happened very recently. I went on a date and I was like so worried about in that whole thing. Like our experience of that whole date was very nice. We met a few times and everything was going well. We called it. We didn't take that into a relationship because of few other things. But the main reason I was worried about in terms of my compatibility with her was कि यार she was a book lover and she is an avid reader and all of those things, and our content compatibility was not all that great, right? So now what we were doing, we were very serious about कि यार हम अगर हम साथ रहते हैं, because see, spending a lot of time together doing nothing and then being at home and consuming this content is very integral part of people's lives. अगर आप अलग अलग devices पे content देखोगे तो फिर आप emotional physical intimacy तो कर ही नहीं पाओगे, right? And that's why shared experience की जब बात आती है, so I said what we started doing was I sent a list of movies that are very critically important to me, or the genre which is very important to me. I sent that to her. She sent things that we could collectively watch, which would be okay with her. So what we did was we were trying to find common ground. We said, yeah, we are very similar in a lot of things, but in terms of what we consume, because in our digital ages we consume a lot of content, right? And if we can't laugh on the same reels and can't laugh on the same content or cry on the same content, I think there is going to be a massive disconnect.
यार ये ना कई लोग बोलते हैं कि even music का people जैसे for example when you are driving with each other, right? You are in a car together. Music is like a very important thing. What kind of music are you going to play? So I always say that I have like a very unique sort of playlist, because I usually like hip hop, rap, and all of that. And what if like my partner is totally into only Hindi Bollywood music and Punjabi music, which I'm not that much into. Like I like a little like कुछ उसके गाने, but mostly I'm like into English songs, right? So या फिर जैसे अब मान लो मैं रॉक सुनती हूँ, या जैसे I just said, right? So and उसके बिल्कुल ही वो स्लो रोमांटिक गाने सुनता है. So you can then, पता है क्या, what we so this has also happened to me. So मेरे तो कभी भी जो content वो थे ना, कभी भी same नहीं थे. But I feel that is not like a deal breaker, because I'll tell you what you can do, and I did this with one of my previous partners, that we created like a shared playlist. So what you are saying, right? Similar to that. So I used to send him the songs that I love, and he actually used to listen to them, and he used to send me songs that he loved, and then I listened to them. और वो पता है हुआ क्या, like जब हम relationship में थे, वो कहीं ना कहीं जो बोलते हैं ना मैश हो जाती है चीजें, तो मतलब वो मिक्स हो गई थी चीजें. सो व्हेन वी वर एक्चुअली गोइंग आउट ऑन ड्राइव्स, तो थोड़े पार्ट के लिए मेरा गाना बजता था जो वो भी एंजॉय कर लेता था, एंड फिर उसका बजता था जो नाउ आई हैड आल्सो स्टार्टेड एंजॉयिंग, मुझे कभी नहीं लगा था कि मैं करूंगी. सो दैट इज हाउ यू, बिकॉज बोथ ऑफ अस वर ओपन टू दैट, राइट? अगर मैं हम लोग सेट होते हैं ना बेस की नहीं मुझे यही पसंद है, तो एंड मैं बिल्कुल ही नहीं सुनना चाहूंगी तेरा, तो नहीं.
See,
नहीं
two people in a relationship will become more and more similar the more time they spend around each other. ये बहुत real concept है. In fact, studies have also shown that you start looking क्या कहते हैं physically, not just in your appearance of what you wear, but generally in your actual physical appearance you start looking like your partner as well, right?
ये कहीं पता है there is that thing going on जहाँ बहुत couples जो बहुत अच्छे उनका चल रहा होता है, they are like many people mistake us for like brother and sister because that is how similar we have become. But yeah, anyway. You know, I think we should also talk about how does gender play, like we are talking about straight relationships, so how does gender play like a role in like who is going to initiate physical intimacy or emotional intimacy? Is that a thing, or what do you think, how does that work out?
Yeah, so I think there is a massive stereotype around that men are not very vocal and emotional and they will not express their emotions and they're very hardcore and stuff like that, and it is very easy to say that women will always be the ones to show emotional connect more, and they will be the one to be more softer and more lovey-dovey. Then the guy is going to be more lusty and more into physical stuff, right? But I think in today's day and age, all of that is being thrown out of the window because everybody is different and everybody has their own set of ideas of who they are and what they want from their partner, right? At least even if it's a wrong idea, they at least have an idea कि मेरे को अपने partner से क्या चाहिए. So generally, yes, there is a thing that guys are more into the woman from a physical aspect, or they want to be involved physically first, but women are also somebody who are now wanting to act on their physical desires as well, right? So I think the roles are changing, but predominantly still in our country we have to understand, right? People who are listening to this podcast, we as hosts talking about it, we are in the privileged part of our society, right?
Definitely.
Where we are subject to a lot of experience which normal India does not abide by. 95% of India is not like us, and there it still exists that parda system hai, the girl will not speak up a lot,
right.
The guy will be the leader in that relationship. But I think in modern tier 1 tier 2 kind of, tier 2 to nahi bol sakta, but in tier 1, at least in cities like Delhi, Mumbai and Bangalore, I think those gender roles are also changing, right? Where women are taking charge and men also are at the mercy, and especially because of the dating app system, women have the ultimate power, right? Like they can pick and choose who they want to talk to, and ये बंदा मेरे को अभी नहीं हंसा रहा यार, ये वाला अभी constantly 4 लोग और continuously हंसा रहे, तो attention anyways moves away from that person. So it's a very toxic thing. We'll talk about online dating again, but I think gender roles को stereotype नहीं करना चाहिए, but generally I think women are the more, I would say, the nicer and the sweeter of the two partners.
I agree.
Generally,
but
they don't hold a candle to me. I'm very, very nice and sweet. sometimes people tell me तू बहुत लड़की जैसा behave करता है, तो क्या होगा
यार? यही तो प्रॉब्लम है. नहीं तो क्या होगा? नहीं, यही तो जेंडर स्टीरियोटाइपिंग इतनी ज्यादा है ना कि कई बार अच्छा इसका ऑपोजिट एंड ऑल्सो, एंड आई थिंक वी हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट दिस अ लिटिल बिट, बट एनीवे, सो इसका उल्टा ये होता है कि अगर इफ द गर्ल स्टार्ट्स बिहेविंग, नॉट बिहेविंग, बट इफ शी डज थिंग्स व्हिच आर स्टीरियोटाइप्ड टू बी समथिंग दैट इज डन बाय अ मैन, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल इफ शी अप्रोचेस अ गाय फर्स्ट, राइट, तो देन इट्स लाइक, oh, she's too forward, and then like all of the wrong terms that you could think about a woman. Probably she does not have a strong character, and probably she does this a lot or whatever. So that judgment comes in. So that also kind of impedes some women. हो सकता है कि वो they are strong enough and they are bold enough to do that, but then they would think यार अरे मेरा impression शायद गलत जाएगा, probably this person will not think very highly of me if I do this, तो शायद वो पीछे हट जाए, which is a bad thing. इसका मैं दूसरा एग्जांपल भी दे सकती हूँ. फॉर एग्जांपल जो लड़कों के साथ होता है कि यार अगर मैं इमोशंस अपने दिखाऊंगा, इफ आई ओपनली कम्युनिकेट अबाउट कि मुझे ये चीज अच्छी नहीं लगी यार, ऐसा मत कर या कुछ और कर, वट एवर यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, तो यार ये तो सोचेगी कि मैं बहुत वीक हूँ. एंड मेन आर ट्रेडिशनली नोन टू बी कि दे हैव बीन फोर्स्ड बाय द सोसाइटी टू ओनली शो देयर कि यार यू आर सपोज टू बी द स्ट्रॉन्ग पर्सन एंड यू आर सपोज टू कैरी इट फॉरवर्ड, एंड लॉट ऑफ प्रेशर हैज बीन पुट. सो इसीलिए कई बार ऐसा होता है कि दे आर लिटरली dying inside, but they won't voice a word, which is and there is a problem in that entire thing, right? So ये जो society create करती है ना कि यार लड़के ही ये कर सकते हैं और लड़कियां ही ये कर सकती है, is like I think it is थोड़ा थोड़ा करके changing, but it really needs to change, right?
And I think I think that is where boundary setting is again important, and you should be like, and you should encourage your partner to do things that they generally would not do, right? If either of you are, let's say, introverts, right, who is not vocal about their emotions or does not communicate, you can encourage your partner to say, and I will not judge you, you're in a safe space, I will not react to it. In fact, a lot of people do this, right? Yeah, तू गुस्सा तो नहीं करेगा if I tell you this, right? And tell them नहीं करूंगा, I will not react, because you tell me. That is how you build strength in a relationship and build emotional connect, by talking everything under the sun, right? If you bare your soul to somebody, that is how deeper you can be in a relationship or in love, right? So I think that is very important. But I think both of the partners, I think I have to emphasize on this, that women have to speak up. I think बहुत जन्मों से ये चल रहा है, like a lot of women very forward also, okay, very modern, very forward, doing great things in life. Even they have told me, Aurick, if it comes to asking out, you will do the asking out. I'm like, why the fuck? हर चीज में तो equality चाहिए, हर चीज में you are forward and I like you for all of that. Then why can't you go ahead and express it
something
first?
जो मैंने अभी बताया ना, जैसे I have to ask out people and मुझे मैं तो ये भी बोलती हूँ कि जब मुझे कोई पसंद आएगा ना, I will not like कोई मुझे वो नहीं है कि यार I will actually get down on one knee and be like यार do you want to be mine forever? So ये पूरा कॉन्सेप्ट ना, वही देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम इन ऑल ऑफ दिस. एंड आई थिंक वो भी जो तू भी एग्जांपल दे रहा है वो इसीलिए नहीं करते हैं बिकॉज दे आर आल्सो स्केर्ड कि अच्छा व्हाट इफ आई एम like seen as having like not good character, उसको लगेगा कि अच्छा I am approaching men now, so why is that a taboo? So there is a taboo around that, right? Just like there is a taboo around men showing their emotional side. So इसीलिए that is where the problem is. I think we need to start like evolving literally, and we need to start मतलब हम पता है क्या करें, we are kind of, if we are adhering to these, we are like giving into the problem, we are feeding it.
Yep.
So we need to, at some point we need to break the cycle by changing our behaviors.
True, absolutely true. Yeah, so this also again relates to how physical intimacy starts and all of that. I want to say that let's talk about marriages for a little while, right? Marriages are situations, at least even now, predominantly most marriages are being set by families and by society कि भाई इन दोनों की शादी हो जानी चाहिए, इनका मेल हो जाना चाहिए. इनफैक्ट इन टुडेज डे एंड एज आपको लगता है कि लव मैरिजेस ज्यादा हो रहे हैं, व्हिच इज आल्सो नॉट ट्रू, बिकॉज जो लोग देर से शादी कर रहे हैं वो थक हार के अल्टीमेटली अरेंज मैरिज को ही मान ले रहे हैं इज द मोर वायबल ऑप्शन, राइट? सो लेट्स आल्सो टॉक फ्रॉम अ ओल्डर ट्रेडिशनल पर्सपेक्टिव एंड आल्सो फ्रॉम मॉडर्न पर्सपेक्टिव. यू वर नाउ पुट इनटू अ सिचुएशन टुगेदर and now you are bound to this person. I think in most cases that emotional involvement and intimacy also starts after a while, and physical intimacy also starts, right? It goes either way. Sometimes older generation could never find that intimate relationship in their relationship, either emotional or physical. But I think most people, if they are looking for the right things in their partner, right, if they are very adjusting in nature, I think people who were put in arranged marriages also found emotional as well as physical intimacy, right? I mean, it developed over time. So if given enough amount of opportunity to find each other and find who, and if you're genuinely interested in getting to know somebody, right, you will definitely fall in love with them, or you will at least have a level of admiration,
like
right?
This is like a very controversial topic. I think like this is like I don't know if this is a separate topic in itself, but वही तो जो मैंने पूछा, right? Like, do you think that people can grow on each other, right? And I think your answer, I know your answer is yes, and which you just spoke about now also. मेरे लिए ऐसा होता है, there has to be some initial kind of connect, because if I feel no connect at all, then I also don't want to like, I value my energy a lot, so I want to preserve my energy. I'm not going to give just one person a lot of energy and time and efforts if I feel मेरा कोई भी connect नहीं है. So yes, people will grow on you, but I think there has to be some kind of chemistry, some kind of vibe going on, because otherwise why would you? And जो arranged marriages में they were put वाली जो तू बात बोल रहा है ना, वो इतने मेहनत क्या करते थे अपने relationships के बारे में. We also need to understand कि तब क्या scenario चलता था, तब ये swipe culture था नहीं. अभी क्या हो रहा है कि even after people are getting married, they still at the back of their mind know कि यार मेरे पास बहुत options हैं, तो अभी जितना हो रहा है करते हैं, and they are not probably giving like पूरा 100% effort also even after they are married, and whatever happens, and then if they are getting separated, they are still like यार मुझे तो मिल ही जाएगा ना कोई. So जो level का you are saying ना कि you grow on each other, uske liye a lot of effort is required also. So are people willing to put that much effort in today's day and age? I don't think
I
they
think if
are.
you want love and if you want something from your partner, वो आप क्या कहते हैं seek out करोगे, right? At some point in time, you will speak up or you will actually detach yourself and get out of that relationship. But I also want to bring in a very important point, right? You said that initial attraction is a major thing, and it's a major thing for a lot of people. Love at first sight, falling in love with their vibe and their, whatever words and all. That's very easy. But try to understand. Anybody who is trying to impress you, बढ़ चढ़ के is anyways a red flag, क्योंकि यार वो बेस लेवल वो तो मेंटेन करेगा ही नहीं. वो तो तुम्हें अभी पाने के लिए, तुम्हें जीतने के लिए वो सबसे बढ़िया चीजें कर रहा है, बढ़िया एक्शन दिखा रहा है. हाउ कैन यू राइट ऑफ अ पर्सन कि भाई ये बंदा बहुत सही था क्योंकि इसने मेरे को बहुत ही अच्छा अमेजिंग टाइम दिखाया, वर्सेस द अदर गाय हु वाज वेरी नेचुरली नॉर्मल बट अदरवाइज कुड हैव बीन अ ग्रेट फकिंग पार्टनर फॉर यू और अ ग्रेट फिट फॉर
पता
यू.
है क्या, हाँ, इसीलिए आई हैव दिस रूल. जैसे पहले आई यूज्ड टू बी लाइक, आई यूज्ड टू जस्ट हैव लाइक अ वन डेट थिंग कि अगर एक बार मुझे मिलके नहीं अच्छा लगा तो देन आई एम गोइंग टू कंप्लीटली राइट ऑफ दिस पर्सन. जो आई थिंक मेनी पीपल एक्चुअली डू दैट. And then I think some like circumstances happened and I was like, maybe I should give people a chance. And I have now like a 3-date thing ki if I meet them like 3 times and wo bhi aisa hai ki if the first date does not go like horrible, if it goes like very very bad, then I'm not going to give them like a second of my life more. But if it was like okay not amazing, then I'm going to try like different settings, different kind of dates, and I am then going to give them at least 2 or 3 dates to like get comfortable also. Because I do agree that you need some time to also to open up with to the other person. Not everyone is like somebody की जो एकदम अपने आप को बिल्कुल ही हमेशा एक्सप्रेस कर पाता है बहुत कंफर्टेबली. एंड इवन द पीपल जो बहुत अच्छे से एक्सप्रेस कर भी पाते हैं, इवन दे नीड सम टाइम टू गेट opened up to you completely. So I think yes, people can grow on you. So you should not definitely write off people on the first go, but then you should also have like a stop limit कि हाँ इतनी देर तक ही हम देखने वाले. I am not here wasting my energy.
Also, so जैसे movies में दिखाते हैं, right? Like movies, TV shows में भी होता है that two people who were very adversarial and then they were put in a situation and then they fall in love with each other. The more they get to know about each other and the more time they spend around each other. Something similar happened to me also. It has happened multiple times in my life where I have written off people ki yaar, this person is not my kind. In fact, there was a point in my life where I went on 2 dates, simultaneous dates, and I'm like, this person seems nice to take things forward with, and this person probably is not my type, and maybe she also thinks that I'm not her type. And then eventually what happened is that the more I got to know about that person, I realized, oh my freaking lord, this person has a lot of those things that I'm looking for, but it's just that because I've written things off and, because I didn't see it the moment that I should have, I think, everything just went haywire. But I think, what can also happen is that once you get to know somebody deeply, right, I think their attributes, आप क्या करते हो ना, प्रॉब्लम इसमें ये आ जाती है, when you peer into somebody's soul, it starts questioning your motives and your desires, right?
I think we will definitely talk about this in a separate episode. The types of partners that you meet. I think what you are talking about is some people are like mirrors, so they will reflect what you are.
Yep.
And that is very uncomfortable for many people, right? And sometimes some people say that the people that you are actually like, destined to be with, they will actually like help you face, and you will have to face your own truths, which many people like are willing, they're trying to actively avoid it. So that will get uncomfortable for them, and kai baar isliye bhi people like this like end the relationship. They're like, I can't face this, because they can't face themselves, right? Yep. So yeah, that is the whole thing.
I think people need to be very open-minded and open to new experiences and not write people off कि यार इसने तो अभी ऐसे signs दिखाए हैं, because nobody can display who they actually are in one go, 10 goes. Because I keep repeating, and I'll probably keep repeating in all my episodes at some capacity always, is that 3 साल बाद भी, 4 साल बाद रिश्ते में रहने के बाद भी, you sometimes ask yourself कि यार, am I dating the right person? Do I even know who this person is, right? So you can never know after 5 people walk out of marriages after be like, yaar, who was this person? This person is not who I signed up with, right? So that can happen in a long term relationship. फिर तो यार dating app में आप 1 बार 2 बार 4 बार मिलोगे तो कैसे ही आप पता करोगे?
Long term relationships की there is like a very famous kind of saying कि you, as long as you, first of all, as long as you grow, you are bound to grow, right? As long as you are growing with each other in the same direction, that relationship is going to survive. If you grow up, you are growing. But if you are growing apart from each other, then it is going to break. And the saying that I was talking about was that a man who was married for like whatever, there was a couple who was married for quite many years, like 30-40 years. And then he was asked, is this the same person that you met? he was like, in the past 40 years, I have lived with 5 women. It feels like, but it is the same woman, right? So that is how much growth and that is how much of
Yep.
like the variety I have seen in this person. But then that happened with the person. Like basically what I'm trying to say is ki I am growing, but I'm still choosing to do that with you.
And
right?
that is where it is very important to understand both partners are geared towards growth, right? If one person is very set in their ways and very hard-headed, right? If you see, change is inevitable, everybody will change. You will become
Yes.
10 different people in your entire lifetime, wo to hai hi, right? But if the other person has not signed up and if they are emotionally not there or mentally not there, ki yaar, I don't like change too much, I want to be in this set thing, and if you grow too much, I think you should also account for ki 5 saal baad, based on who they are today, are they going to be different people, right? How much have they changed?
They are going to be different people, but वही है ना यार, ये सारी चीजें वैसी होती है. Unless until you actually live with them, you are never going to like understand that. So there is always going to be a risk involved, but that is what we do for love, right?
No, but I also think you can see a lot of people's futures are predicted by their past past performance and past behaviors, right? And that's how we humans judge other people, right? Sometimes we write people off कि यार इसने पहले ये करा है तो ये हमेशा करेगा, which is also not true. People can change, but आप देखो ना कि as a person was growing, how much drastically have they changed? Like, have they changed their ways entirely? Have they taken a 180 turn, or have they not moved at all in their lives? कि यार जो बचपन में था वो middle school में भी वैसे था, वो college में भी वैसा था, वो job में भी वैसा है, right? So most likely that partner is going to be pretty same regardless of what age and what circumstances
that depends on your nature also, right? वो तो किसी का बोल नहीं सकते हैं. हाँ, some people are like, see, उसमें मैं बोलती हूँ कि तुम्हारी core values develop हो सकती है, change हो सकती है, and if you're मतलब what is that change happening in what direction? If it is changing for the good, then it is a good thing. If they are going backwards in their thing, then that is a bad thing probably, right? So what direction is the change happening in is all that also matters. So everybody is going to change, but are they still willing to do all of that with each other is what will matter.
And that is why I will again say this, which ये ना मेरे को analogy सबसे अच्छी लगती है, मैं आजकल ये analogy सब पे चेपता हूँ. See, because of your experiences, because of your social media feed, because of the companies that you work at, the cultures there, the friends that you have, people will keep evolving and changing, right? And they will go in opposite directions. The more you grow apart because of the things that you inculcate in your life constantly, there is going to be the gap which is going to grow bigger and bigger, right? If you're two people who are very emotionally secure, emotionally mature, physically also intimate, what you will do is you will start building bridges कि भाई हमें पता है कि हम change होंगे, but we want to understand that change and accommodate you with that change so that we can be together. जो लोग वो नहीं कर पाएंगे वो सारे रिश्ते moving forward टूट ही जाएंगे.
I agree. You always have to, इसीलिए तो बोला like that communication bit has to be there. If you're not openly communicating with each other, तो वो तो कभी हो भी नहीं पाएगी वो चीज. So you always have to be willing to work for it. I have this saying where I keep saying that you have to be willing to work for a relationship. It will not feel like work if you actually love the other person, but then you have to put in some work. It's not something जो तुम्हें ऐसे ही मिल जाने वाला है या जो ऐसे ही sustain भी कर पाओगे. So that is it.
बिल्कुल. So yeah, on that note, it was a quite interesting topic, physical intimacy versus physical. I think both of them are important.
Physical versus emotional, yeah.
What did I just say?
Physical versus physical.
Oh shit!
तेरे लिए बस यही important.
Somebody is not getting any action in life.
अभी खुद ही कह रहा था कि अच्छा लोग यही सोचते हैं, तू यही खुद सोचता है.
नहीं यार, मैं बता नहीं सकता publicly, but हाँ. मेरी दुविधा बहुत बड़ी है.
Oh my god.
But anyway, so yeah, on that note, Saniya, any parting the comments?
नहीं यार, the same thing कि like both of those are important, and just like anything and everything in life, a balance is what is required. And since this is love and relationship and all of that, right? So you're not just doing it alone, you're doing it with your partner. So have those discussions on what you like, what you don't like, whether it is about emotional intimacy, physical intimacy. Have those healthy discussions and work on your relationship. And yeah.
So guys, एक दूसरे से बात करो, एक दूसरों की सुनो, और थोड़ा सा अकोमोडेट करो, और कॉम्प्रोमाइज जैसे तुम्हारे पेरेंट्स करते थे, हम तो बहुत कॉम्प्रोमाइज करते थे.
कॉम्प्रोमाइज
थोड़ा भी और करो.
मुझे पता नहीं, थोड़ी नेगेटिव कॉनोटेशन लगती है कॉम्प्रोमाइज से. एकोमोडेट इज अ गुड वर्ड.
नहीं, अकोमोडेट करना कि आई एम एक्सेप्टिंग ऑफ योर फ्लॉज एंड एवरीथिंग, फिर भी आई एम लेटिंग यू बी इन माय लाइफ. कॉम्प्रोमाइज इज यू कम अ लिटिल बिट, आई कम अ लिटिल बिट,
like you have to meet each other halfway.
Compromise with your mindset and your thought process.
Right. A little bit.
तो थोड़ा करके एक दूसरे के पास आओ, साथ रहो, खुश रहो यार, बिकॉज लाइफ बहुत ही डिफिकल्ट हो जाती है if you're not emotionally happy. So please take care of that. All right, we'll see you again in the next episode. Thank you for listening. Bye bye.
Bye.